Welcome everybody to the start of leg 2 of the Ocean Race Europe 2025, this time from the Solent on the southern coast of the United Kingdom. The boats have been resting for a couple of days in Portsmouth after leg 1. Now they've made their way out just north of Cowes for a start on the historic start line. This was the water, this was the scene that began this entire adventure back in 1973, the very first edition of the Ocean Race. And now we have 4 minutes to go before that very same start line will see 7 state-of-the-art Imoca 60s race from Cowes down to Cartagena. Of course, we do have the flyby in Porto on the way, and the scores for this leg will be double for Paul Mayer and the crew of Biotherm, already at the top of the leaderboard with 9 points. They're looking fairly comfortable at the moment. Team Militia and Team Paprika joint on 6, with Canada Ocean Racing B Water Positive on 4 and Team Amala on 3. Team Holcim PRB and Alagrande Mape Racing, both of those teams failing to secure any points at the moment after their collision in Kiel shortly after the start of leg 1. But they're here, they are back, and they are as ready as ever. And for this next leg, maximum score of 14 points available if you are the first boat into Porto in Portugal and the first boat at the finish line in Cartagena, southern Spain. This is the view of the Solent at the moment, and we have good breeze, not only good wind but also a good angle as well. Alagrande Mapi, this boat has been racing to this start line. The race for this crew with Ambrosio Beccaria and the rest of his team, this start line is just another obstacle in their adventure of the last week. They only arrived in Portsmouth last night during the darkness. They had a small chance to get themselves ready, and now they are back out on the water. And it was the collision with this team here, Team Holcim PRB, that put both of these boats on the back foot. But now they are ready to go. Rosalind Kuiper, the skipper of Team Holcim PRB, and it is Frank Camas once again that we see on the tiller, steering this 60-footer and getting themselves lined up to go for the start. Inside of 2 minutes to go. The start line extending from the shore of Cowes, from the Royal Yacht Squadron. Anybody who started the Fastnet or Cowes Week, any of the classic races, will know how the transit system works. The boats have been here on the water for the last hour, getting a little look at how the line rolls across the water very quickly with the tide behind them. And now you can see the difference in approach. Paprika very close to the line. Canada Ocean Racing on the right-hand side in the blue, also close to the line. They're now having to push up. The tide is taking them across the line early. Johan Richomme on board Paprika needs to time this well. Inside of 1 minute, behind these 3 boats, just to the left-hand side of the picture, Team Militia coming down with the Spinnaker. Team Amala as well. I think the German team may have been a little too cautious. They look a long way back. Paprika playing with the tide, just coming up to half a minute to go. But Team Militia will be up to speed if Will Harris, taking on the skippership role from Boris Herman for this leg, if they've timed this approach well, even though they're close to shore, they should be able to come through here with plenty of pace. Biotherm also pushing the line. Now goes the deployment on Paprika, the A2, the downwind sail. It's ready. Johan Richomme calling for his crew to get going. On board now with Holcim PRB, Frank Camas on the tiller. Alan Roberts just having a look through the bubble. Ahead of them, Paprika close to the line. And there's the line. The gun has fired, and it's perfectly timed for Johan Richomme. He was late to the line, but compared to the fleet, he's the first one to cross the line. No boats over. And with that large white spinnaker, he's already pulling out a few meters distance just behind Holcim PRB through the line along with Canada Ocean Racing B Water Positive. Alagrande Mappe to leeward as well. It's Biotherm who's taken the different line closest to the shore. Alagrande Mappe threading the needle here. B Water Positive just to leeward. Now they find themselves on the heels of Holcim PRB. On board with Team Milizia. It was a conservative start. Perhaps that was the game plan all along. But either way, they start this race at the back of the field at the moment. Flying start for Johan Richomme and his crew on board Paprika Arkea. The boats behind, just to the left-hand side of the picture, now have to be quite defensive. Holcim PRB underneath Alagrande Mappe. Anybody that was watching the start in Kiel will be getting goosebumps now. Hopefully, the close quarters racing that we saw at the start of leg one is not going to be replayed. Holcim PRB holding the speed, pushing up now. Thomas Royal, we can see to the left-hand side, on the downwind side, feeding the information to Ambrosio Beccaria about where the boats are positioned. And they're reacting, they're holding their space, not wanting to get too close. The opposite view now from Team Holcim PRB. And the fleet starting to enjoy a little bit of space. Behind these two, Canada Ocean Racing B Water Positive, and then further back, Team Milizia and Team Amala as we go on board with the Canadian team. Well, the person in charge for this leg, Pip Hare, she was given the keys to the boat from Scott Scheuer, who's going to be observing, reviewing, and preparing for the next leg. He's on shore for this one. And look at the difference now with the angles for these teams. And right in close to the shore, I think it's Biotherm who's been pushing close to the shore. So for Johan Richomme, the boat's over his right shoulder, the left-hand side of our picture, exactly where he wants them to be. He's in control of that field, but there is a little chance that the boat closest to the shore, Biotherm, might cause him problems when we get to the turn. Alagrande Mappe, Team Holcim PRB, Paprika Arkea stacked 1, 2 and 3. The advantage at the moment firmly with the two-time Solitaire de Figaro winner, Johan Richomme. On board with Alagrande Mappe, and all the action at the moment taking place to the right-hand side of the picture, to leeward of this boat, but there's plenty of breeze. We knew that the wind would be better in the central Solent as the boat started to push away from Cowes. And with that space, Thomas Royal no longer needing to be on deck, forward of the mast, feeding the information. He's gone down below and working to keep the boat up to full power. Morgan Lagravière also on the winches. On board now with Biotherm, closest to Cowes and really pushing for the potential lead here. Now back at the other end of the fleet, Alagrande Mappe furthest to windward. All the boats at the moment heading towards the north shore of the Solent, and we'd expect Alagrande Mappe to do a turn soon. And as I say that, Holcim PRB just at the top of the picture, the first boat to jibe. Now Ambrosio Beccaria and Alagrande Mappe follow suit as well. And this will be a question of who has lined themselves up best for the wind and best for the tide. The current here in the Solent taking them from the left to the right, pushing them to the west, running swiftly underneath them. But in order to take advantage of it, you've got to get the boat through the turn as we go on board Team Holcim PRB. Rosalind Kuiper, the skipper, on the right-hand side with Nico Lundven, the navigator for this leg. And it is far from an easy task to turn, to spin this boat, to jibe it in these conditions and get the sails from one side to the other swiftly enough that the speed does not drop. Nico Lundven trying to pull up the now not required rudder on the far side. On board now with Patrick Arquer in front of Team Holcim PRB. Johan Richomme just reminding the onboard reporter that he does need to see what's coming. Good positioning on the fleet here for Johan Richomme. And you can see as we go back to following Alegrande Mappe how much the fleet rotated on that jibe. Canada Ocean Racing B water positive, Alegrande Mappe towards the back of the field at the moment. It's Biotherm and Militia far in the depth of our picture, the two big white spinnakers. Have they potentially been able to make the southern side of this racecourse work? Here's the view from the German team. Will Harris in the skipper seat on this leg. Justine Matru just scanning the horizon. The turn now completed for Team Militia. They are running their way down towards the scoring gate. Alegrande Mappe on the far side of the course has got breeze. Patrick Arquer, Team Holcim PRB, they seem to be locked into a little bit of a battle here. Team Holcim PRB really putting some pressure on the French boat just ahead. Canada Ocean Racing a little behind, but now with wind. You see that darker patch of water. It's swept down as we go on board with Brian Thompson on the helm. And you know it's getting a little bit windy when the crew have to put on an extra layer. Pip Hare just preparing for what's to come. Starting to get some lift off that foil. As more power arrives, the boat starts to sail a little bit quicker. The Solent starting to open up space on the water, but in that distance, just where the Isle of Wight comes to an end, the narrow strip between Lymington and the Isle of Wight, Hurst Spit, that's where the boats are racing to. That is the bonus gate. 2 points available to the first team to get there. 1 point for the second. And for the rest of the field, they'll have to wait for the next opportunity in Porto to try and grab any points. On board with Alegrande Mappe. Bit of tension on the face of Thomas Riard, but there's not much to do in terms of decision making now. The position of this fleet is going to be locked in for a while. They're now racing to that bonus gate and they've lined themselves up on a good angle. It was the action from the start line that is going to make the difference in terms of who got the tide, who's got the breeze, and who is now going to be racing in with the advantage. Biotherm and Team Militia looking good, and they're on the other side of the race course to this boat here, Alegrande Mappe. They are the furthest north. Just a little bit behind Alegrande Mappe, Canada Ocean Racing B water positive. slower than the other teams. Difficult for the boats to select the perfect sails to take on this journey. They don't all have to take the same sails. They can choose which ones are best for the conditions, and you can see that Canada Ocean Racing Be Water Positive does not have a downwind spinnaker. A downwind spinnaker that there we can see that huge parachute ready to capture the wind coming in from behind. Perfect when the wind is coming onto the back of the boat first. Team Milizia making full use of it now on this push out from Cowes. Sailing out from Cowes. Beginning leg 2 of the Ocean Race Europe 2025, and it is a race for those first 2 points. Biotherm, Team Milizia, Paprika Archaea, all in the mix. Biotherm look like they have played this well. They're pressed onto the breeze with that downwind spinnaker, but it's still giving them the power. It is not yet healing them too much. It's still the sail to use, and that start that they went for, close to Cowes, close to the Isle of Wight, it seems to be working for them. And this was the team that got the jump in Kiel. They got to the bonus gate first. They were locked into an incredibly tight battle with Paprika Archaea. They claimed the 2 points, leaving Germany, and it looks like they're going to do it again. Just to the south of them, off to the right-hand side of our picture, they have Team Milizia. Johan Richomme is looking at them now. He's further off to the north. But there was a point where Biotherm looked ahead. There was a point where Johan Richomme and Paprika Archaea looked ahead. Now that front line is really spreading out here. It's going to come down to meters. The wind rolling in over the Isle of Wight. It's messy. It's disturbed, it's not consistent, and that means more work for the crew. Every time the wind shifts, the sailors down below need to provide the power to adjust those sails. Canada Ocean Racing Be Water Positive in 6th place at the moment. More of a conservative start, not just in how they approach the start line, but also in their sail selection and how they've set up the boat. They know that there is a lot of miles to go, over 800 miles on this leg. A chance to compare across the fleet. Nobody at the moment feeling confident in their position. Biotherm, the window right at the bottom, just narrowly trying to push forward into the lead. But the wind is rolling over the Isle of Wight. It's bringing some gusts, but it's also bringing some lulls, some holes, some opportunities to just slow the boat down and let the fleet slip past you. On board with Biotherm. That's a very patriotic sock choice, leaving the British shores for Sam Goodchild. Team Holcim PRB to Lewin, to North, with Jack Patel on board Beotherm. Just checking out the opposition. You can see how close it is here. Different sails being selected by the different teams. They're on different bits of water. Alagrande Mappe not giving up at all. They were incredibly disappointed, along with Team Holcim PRB, about the events that happened in Kiel. The collision taking both of these teams out, requiring a lot of work to get to this point, just to be back on the water sailing at full strength. The mainsail up, full, trimmed to provide power. And then what appears to be not one, not two, but three sails up at the front, trying desperately to get ahead. They need every available point. On board with Team Amala. At the back of the field at the moment, but with a long leg to go and plenty of breeze. Down below on Team Amala's Alan Rohrer stays on the helm. Simon Costa, Jess Berthold, Guillaume Rom, ready, waiting, poised to provide that power, to tune the boat, using the sensors. Meanwhile, what is starting to be a decent way in front of Team Amala. Beotherm, Team Holcim PRB fighting for first place, and it does look like Team Holcim PRB have been able to push through here. That downwind sail that Paul Mayer on board Beotherm selected, hoisted, and is now using that big white spinnaker, perhaps no longer giving the advantage. The wind angle just changing slightly, and Holcim PRB's decision may be coming good, but you can see already that it'll pushes forward as the wind changes. Slipping back, climbing back forward again. Amelie Grassi, one eye on the winch, easing sails. Then back onto the handles to pull the sail back in again. As that wind comes and goes, constant adjustment required. And that is why Team Holcim BRB so close to this boat. Well, leg two of the Ocean Race Europe 2025 underway, with 7 teams on the water, now starting to feel a little bit of space in the Solent, but there are many miles ahead and many challenges left to be faced before we get to Porto and then Cartagena in southern Spain. 14 points, a maximum score available for the boat that can be first to Portugal, first to Spain. And we'll have to wait to see who is going to be at the top of the scoreboard when we get to the conclusion of leg 2.